Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Rants About Tech Live, number 140 for this Monday, August 11th. I'm your friendly neighborhood purveyor of eInk and kind of all things tech, Rod, here with some of my good friends and the chat crew here. They're like the co-hosts of the show. Big up to you guys. Get their hair on going for you guys straight off the top. I appreciate you guys for being here. This is sunny Philadelphia here. It's a pretty decent day today. I hope you guys are having some sunshine wherever you are. This is the show where we talk about today's eInk topics, talk about today's tech topics. We talk about some maker stuff, 3D printing and things like that. So if you like that kind of thing, join us. Welcome. Stay a while. Come back even for more. We do this every day, Monday through Friday. So, 10 a.m. You're welcome. Come back. How you doing, chat? I hope you guys are doing well today. Hope you guys are enjoying some sunshine like I am here today. Anything pressing going on today before we get into today's news? I know that there hasn't been a lot of huge eInk news going on, but if you guys got something on your mind you want to talk about, let me know in the chat. As always, the link in the description for Discord is there too. If you want to join the conversation through Discord, yeah, definitely join us there. There's a lot of people down there that are talking about tech and eInk and all kinds of 3D printing stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, that's a destination for you as well. You can also join the call-in section of the show where we have a link in the description for that as well. Actually, you know what? Let me go ahead and update that link as we go through the show. But you can call in, join the Discord, go to the events channel and do the raise your hand. That's our call-in section of the show. And you can join the conversation or input your own opinion into the conversation or put us onto a story that you think is interesting that we haven't talked about yet. It's going back to the chat though. How you guys doing? Big up to Sheaths, big up to Dr. Ling. Let's get the air horns going for you guys individually here. I appreciate you guys being here. Catwoods Keps. Ooh, Catwood. Listen, I appreciate you for being here. Who else we got in here? We got Aaron. Aaron, thanks for joining us. I appreciate you guys for being here this morning. Like I said, if you guys got anything pressing you want to talk about, I'd appreciate you to throw it right in the chat there or the Discord. If you got links, you can throw it in the Discord. That's a good way to do that. What else we got here? Let's jump right into the tech news, you guys. All right, so Alex, how's it going? Thanks for being here, and good morning to you. Happy Monday, everybody. It's a Mondays are always rough, but I hope you guys got going on the good foot today, and got your week started off great. Mr. Mike says me. All right, let's go ahead into some Pixel 10 leaks, shall we? Right here we have, let's pull up this story, and we already have it up there. So right here we have a story about the Pixel 10 and its leaks. Essentially, it's talking about the stats we have. We got a 6.3, and these are pretty much confirmed stats. Like there's a Google Pixel, or not a Google Pixel event, but there's a Google event happening on the 20th of this month. If you guys are interested in that, I think I may be able to do some kind of live stream on that day. It's gonna be a big day for me because I think that's the phone I'm actually going to upgrade to, the Pixel 10. I'm undecided whether I'm doing the Fold or the regular, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. But some cool things about that thing that happened on the 20th is that all of the specs for the Pixel 10 has pretty much been leaked. So we know everything about the phone. They're just going to basically put it up for pre-order or maybe immediate sale, by the way. And Google is responsible for a lot of these leaks. So it's not like people are getting secret information. Google's throwing the information out there, but they've done this for a number of years, though. I don't think Pixel phones are very secretive. If you're asking Google, they're not trying to keep it a secret. They're not trying to keep the specs a secret. So they leak stuff themselves long before the Pixels are even launched. So yeah, not odd that we're getting these kind of specs and stats from Google, or getting these kind of specs and stats about the phone at all, regardless of who they're from. But these are pretty much confirmed stats. So 6.3 inch octal display, Tensor G5 processor, 12 gigabytes of RAM. We got 48 megapixel camera, and that changes depending on if you're doing the wide or telephoto actual camera. It's a triple camera rear system they have on this particular device. 2 times or 20 times zoom capabilities though, 4K video recording support, 10.5 megapixel front facing camera with autofocus. Interesting. And a lot of camera features. I mean, Pixels have been known to take really good pictures. Actually, that's what Pixels were known for initially. People were buying them because they took really good pictures without having to break the bank to get the phone. 24 hours of battery life. That's never the case on a Pixel. We'll see. Pixel Snap wireless charging, which is Pixel Snap is like Apple's wireless MagSafe. It's like Apple's MagSafe. I think they're all using T3 technology on this. That could be the case, but yeah. So the Pixel 10 coming the 20th, and we know pretty much everything about it. What else we got up here? The next story we have up here is going to be about Microsoft being sued for Windows 10 phasing out. This story is interesting because we talked about this a couple times on the show, where I mentioned a lot of organizations were upset because Microsoft was switching from Windows 10 to Windows 11. And by switching, I just mean they're ending like support for Windows 10. And they're just putting all of their weight behind Windows 11. And that made a lot of people upset. A lot of companies upset that still have Windows 10 machines that feel like they're being pushed to not only upgrade the operating system, but they feel like they're being pushed to upgrade their PCs because of the high requirements for running Windows 11. So anyway, this story pretty much talks about this California man, Klein, suing Microsoft over this. And his complaint is basically that, according to Klein, oh boy, I got a call from Philly? Oh boy. Calls from Philly? Always good. According to Klein's complaint, as of April 2025, Windows 10 users account for approximately 52.94% of all Windows users. Now, I've seen a lower number in other publications where the number was close to like 49%, but still around 50% of users still use Windows 10. While Windows 11 adoption is on the rise, it was only over the past year or so that it started to really gain ground. Most likely because of Microsoft's push to remind everyone that it's discontinuing Windows 10 in October. Klein wants Microsoft to hold off on phasing out Microsoft or Windows 10 till the users of Windows 10 goes below 10%. So he's basically wanting the user base of Windows 10 to go down below 10%, which in that case, you could update the operating system, which I don't know, is kind of ridiculous to me because at an adoption of 10%, that's, I don't know, it just seems like, why would you wait that long to push a new update? But that's what he's pushing for here. Though you can extend the support for Microsoft machines for free, Klein offers, and we talked about that, how you can update or at least extend the support you're getting for your Windows 10 machine by joining a program that Microsoft has going that allows you to extend that support for up to a year. And I think there are some plans too that may allow you to extend it beyond that. And that's free to do. You just have to give some of your settings data to Microsoft in way of saving those settings to Microsoft's cloud. But you're giving up a little bit to get something for free. But he's arguing that though you can do this for free, it doesn't mean that the whole process is free. Like for the reasons I just mentioned, you would have to upgrade your system in a lot of these cases, not just the operating system, to run Windows 11. So that's more money above and beyond the cost of the operating system itself. So that's the case right there. So I'll keep an eye on that and let you guys know what happens in that particular story. Super interesting though. Super interesting. Next thing we got up here is going to be Microsoft sued for killing, or that's saying you must act now. That's a whole different story. All right, CEO responds to Trump after calls for his resignation. Now, have you guys heard of this? I'm not sure. This kind of flew under the radar for me for a few days. But do we know anything about this story where a CEO is being asked to step down from Intel, or the Intel CEO is being asked to step down, and for what reason? Do we have any opinions out there about this, you guys? I think this is a super interesting story, but I don't know how I feel about it. I got some details on it. I'm just not sure how I feel about the story. What do you guys think? I really want to know how you guys feel about that, or if this is a story that's getting some traction in your world. Because like I said, it flew under the radar for me for a couple days. And like I said, I'm not too big into political stories that involve tech, but this was interesting just because it had some implications in the tech world. So I felt like it might be a need to go into it. Tech companies bending the knee. In this case, not so much. There's some pushback in this particular case. But I did want to know if you guys heard anything about this. We'll go into it, but I wanted to see before I went into it what you guys knew about it, and if you had any opinions on this particular story. But let's go ahead and go into it here. So this is kind of what I've been able to get from the situation here. Let's go back here. So this is what I've been able to get from the situation. So essentially, the CEO Tan of Intel, or Tan, I think it's Tan. Through any event, the CEO of Intel is being out, or not outed, but he's being some lights being shined on his investments with Chinese corporations. Now, a lot of that has to do with investments that he used to have that he's divested from since then. But some of the speculation around this particular stance by the current administration is due to the fact that Tan also was a CEO of Cadence Design, which is a Chinese company, while he was also the CEO of Intel. And this is some overlap between 2001 and 2003, or 2021 and 2023. And that's important because that company, Cadence Design, pled guilty to selling design tools to CSCC. Now, that's not, I guess you wouldn't normally think that's a big thing, one company selling technology to another tech company. But the big thing about this is that CSCC is actually China's National University of Defense Technology. And that right there is a company that he was in charge of, Tan, that sold technology to Chinese operated entity, military owned operated entity. So that was kind of weird. That to me is what led a lot of people to feel like that's why the administration was going after him, because during that time when he was CEO of Intel and this Cadence Design company, there was some selling of technologies to Chinese military operations or organizations. Now, I don't know whether that's the reason for this or not. That is a fact, but that particular tidbit is a fact, but I'm not sure if that's the reason why this particular ousting is being called for the Intel CEO. There's a couple other tidbits here as well. Let's go to the chat before I get into those other little things. Dr. Ling says, I thought this dude announced that Intel bringing manufacturing to the U.S. a few months ago. That's interesting. He did announce that, but none of that has happened yet. And that is another reason why people think this current administration is going after the CEO of Intel, because the promise, the manufacturing and the building of these foundries in Ohio hasn't happened yet. What else we have here? Catwood says, Donald needs to stay in his own delusional lane. He doesn't even know how to use a cell phone, much less other tech. He's only interested in protecting his own personal investments. Well, that may or may not be true. that may or may not be true. But this particular thing here, I think it is an investment thing. And we'll get to some other tidbits here. Let's go ahead and take a look at actually, where's that story at here? No, it doesn't have it right here. But the bigger thing is for me is just what Dr. Ling just hit on. There was an agreement to bring foundries to Ohio for chip manufacturing foundries to be built in Ohio. That hasn't happened, especially under a climate when a bunch of other, in a climate where a bunch of other big companies, we're talking about Apple, we're talking about even Microsoft, they're bringing manufacturing here to the U.S. to an extent. Like, not all of their manufacturing, and Apple has gone on record as saying, in order, someone said, when will you be able to build the first all American manufactured iPhone to the market? And Tim Cook is like, that won't be for a long time, like a number of years. So even if they bring some manufacturing here right now, all of it won't come. It'll be a slow trickle. But the fact that bigger companies are committing to that and are also building these manufacturing sites right now, and Intel is dragging its foot on building, that could be a reason for this. That could be one of the reasons for this. The Intel manufacturing infrastructure probably stopped because of the tariffs. Well, companies are always trying to get ahead of the tariffs, right? I mean, whether the tariffs were actually coming or not, I think a lot of companies just started raising their prices no matter what, in anticipation of it. I could be wrong, but didn't the CHIPS Act under Biden allow for manufacturing to come back to the U.S.? Yes, it did. It gave incentives, but it didn't push companies to bring manufacturing back to the U.S. The current legislation and the executive orders that are being put in place with the tariffs and all of that, that's pushing these companies to manufacture. Now, I mean, they've always had the incentive, but the incentive that was being offered by our government wasn't as big as the money that they saved by going to other companies or countries and having things manufactured. So the incentives almost meant nothing in a lot of cases. But you couple the incentives with the tariffs, now you got real incentive for these companies to actually start making manufacturing happen in the U.S. But regardless, that's one of the things that people think may be a cause for this, is that they've been dragging their foot on building these foundries. Now, the last, no one knows why exactly, but the last thing here is that this could be a beef between the previous CEO of Intel, Galsinger, and the current CEO, Tan. So the relationship between them is basically, it's like a soap opera. So the previous CEO, Tan, basically tried to oust, the previous CEO, Galsinger, tried to oust the current CEO, Tan, at a time when Tan was just on the board. Now, I guess Tan never forgot that. And so when the previous CEO was pushed out of Intel and Tan was named the current CEO of Intel, people think that Galsinger held on to that grudge that he had against Tan for what he did to him. But the thing is, Galsinger is friends with J.D. Vance, the vice president. So a lot of people think that because he's friends with J.D. Vance, that he's whispering in J.D. Vance's ear, like, hey, listen, this guy, don't trust him. He's got shady business going on. That's a conspiracy theory. That's the third conspiracy theory. But I'm inclined to believe this has more to do with Intel dragging their feet on the foundry building, which is, I think, the biggest thing here. Make America Great Depression again. Oh, Dr. Lang. Oh, Dr. Lang. But that's where that is. Like I said, that flew under the radar for me for a little while because I didn't really understand the story until digging into it a little bit. A lot of moving parts in that story, but very interesting. Very interesting. Let's go on to I think the last story we got on here. No, this isn't the last story, but it's a good one. Lithium deficiency and the onset of Alzheimer's disease. So this was a research published in the Nature journal, and this is actual research that's being documented here, saying that lithium deficiency could be the cause and the preventative measure for Alzheimer's. That's interesting. That is very interesting. So let's talk about some of the specifics here. So the hypothesis and the correlation is this. So lithium is naturally occurring. We did not think before this research was done that lithium was a naturally occurring chemical in the body, but apparently lithium is a naturally occurring chemical in the body. I think it's being manufactured in the brain if I'm understanding this correctly, but it is found in the brain and in the bloodstream. Lithium is produced, like I just said, it seems like in the brain and flows through the bloodstream. And low levels of lithium have been attributed to memory loss. The correlation and the thing that put scientists and researchers onto this was a certain population in Denmark's local water source had high levels of lithium, health researchers noticed. And they noticed that because a lot of the elderly within the same population had low levels of dementia. So they wanted to figure out why these people had low levels of dementia in this particular section of Denmark, where they realized that there was lithium in the water supply. So that, I don't know how that trickles through the body's system, but those higher levels of lithium in this particular population prevented cognitive decline. So that was the correlation. So the experiment was they took some mice and fed them a low lithium diet. And then they took, obviously as a control, well, they had a control set of mice that they didn't have a lithium diet or a low lithium diet. And then they had mice that had a low lithium diet. They kept track of both of these two sections of mice. And they noticed that the cognitive decline started to happen pretty rapidly in the mice that were deficient in lithium and had a low lithium diet. The conclusion was regulation of lithium in the body could reduce symptoms and even protect against Alzheimer's. Now, I was floored by that. And I'm like, wow, this is very interesting. We're at a point to where we're making breakthroughs in Alzheimer's, something that we've been studying and trying to get our handle on for a very long time. It looks like lithium, something that we didn't even know was produced in the body, may be the cause. A deficiency of lithium may be the cause of it. Let's go to the chat. And I could be wrong, but I didn't chip under the body, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we've already gone over that. All right, very interesting. So let's go on to the last story I think we have here. Yep. Something there about WinRAR. Now, I stopped using WinRAR a long time ago, so I haven't used it in a while, but I used to use this tool all the time. This is back during my pirating software days, though. I mean, pirating software and music. I think don't get holier than thou. You all did it too. Don't give me that look. But the point is, I used to use this software all the time, and there's a couple of vulnerabilities with this particular software. So the exploit, the vulnerability has been classified as a directory transversal flaw that allows malicious archives to place files in locations chosen by the attacker. By exploiting it, threat actors can place executable files into auto-run directories like the Windows startup folder. It's the natural home for all, well, not all, but a lot of viruses. This virus has the potential to install backdoor malware on Windows PCs. It is said to be actively exploited by the Russian-linked hacking group Romcom. Though there is some potential threat for this potential virus here, the fix could be just updating your software. So WinRAR has already offered a update for this, so you're going to have to go and download this update if you want to protect yourself against this, and you use WinRAR. The way you're going to have to do this is the old-fashioned way. Go and look for the download and update your particular software because there is no auto update function for WinRAR. And notably, Unix versions of RAR, Unware, Portable Unware, Source Code, and Unware library for RAR for Android are safe from this exploit. So a lot of versions of RAR didn't get affected. It looks like only WinRAR got affected by this particular virus from Romcom. But just something to keep in your mind. If you're using this bit of software, you might want to go ahead and update to the latest version because there is a fix for this. They patched the exploit in this latest update, and you should be good to go after that. You're free to continue pirating your software and your music. You're welcome. All right, everybody. That's going to be the tech news for today. We got any big EInkNews going on that I haven't talked about or we haven't covered? I didn't see anything huge happening. No new devices, obviously. We're going to talk about a device here that's kind of experimental in a minute here. But no big new devices. BM, how's it going? Thanks for joining. BM says, wow, lithium and iodine are good for you. Who would have known, right? When I heard lithium, I thought of psych wards back in the day when they used to that used to be a prescription for psychiatrists used to prescribe lithium, I think. And it's like, wow, that's the first thing that popped into my mind. Yeah, who thought lithium would be good for you? Now, these are very small and trace amounts of lithium that we're talking about here. But still being integral to the body in a way. Very cool. I think that's the last tech story we have. Let's go ahead and do the e-ink. All right, so for EInkNews we got here, it's going to be a dual screen device. Now, I thought this was cool because it gets me closer to an e-ink version of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy book. Do you guys know what that is? Let's take a look at it. If you don't know, we're about to find out. So this particular book right here, I don't want this book. I want the actual the in movie book. All right, let's check out the in. There we go. This gets me closer to my in movie book of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Now, this is if you saw the movie, this is a digital book. This is not it though. So if you saw the movie, it's a digital book that it reminds me of this thing we're going to look at here. Let's actually go ahead and take a look at it. All right, here we go. Modder builds custom dual screen e-reader that feels like a real book. And like I said, looking at it just reminds me of what I would think the real life version of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy would look like if it were in color and looked like it had pages like the Remarkable Paper Pro. But that's a whole nother story. Let's go ahead and check out some details of this particular thing, shall we? The dual screen e-reader. It has two 5.83-inch e-ink displays, so not bad on the size. They're powered by the ESP32S3 chip, known for its efficiency. Has 212 kilobytes of internal SRAM and up to 8 megabytes of internal or external PSRAM. Has dual 1,300 milliamp hour batteries that can reportedly last over a month on a single charge. Has an SD card slot for your library. Physical buttons for navigation. USB-C for charging. And 16 millimeters thick, closed, and 8 millimeters when open. So not a bad size. Not a bad size at all. I think this is super interesting because I like the form factor. It's like a book. You get 2 pages at once. Less page turning. It also has buttons. I can definitely see Amazon releasing something like this. And matter of fact, I would have thought they would have done it already, actually. I definitely would have thought they would have done it. Oh, Dr. Lane, 42. That is indeed the answer to life, the universe, and everything. It really is. It's 42. 42. That's such a great number. I wonder how they chose that. What else we got here? Yeah, I think it's interesting. I like the form factor. And I want something like this. I would buy. I'm not really that like big into e-readers, but I would buy this. I mean, just plain e-readers, because I have, e-ink tablets. They can be used as e-readers, so there's no need for me to go buy a dedicated one, unless I wanted something super small. In which case, still got the Nomad here. Got the Tab Mini C over there. We're good to go. But this would be cool. I would buy this e-reader and be happy with it without it being something you can write on. I'd be cool with that. I'd be certainly cool with that. All right. What else we got here, you guys? I think that's the only EInkNews we got of today. Unless you guys, like I said, unless we have topics, you throw it in the chat. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about where we at on the chat, actually. 10 people are good to go. Good time to announce. If you want to continue any of these conversations after we leave here, there is a Discord for Rants About Tech. Description or link in the description, and also a link for our call-in is there as well. So if you drop into the events channel, you got something to say, you want to say something, there's the place to do it. Throw your hand up. I bring you over to the live show. We talk about it. But that's how we do that. So if you're interested in that, both of those links for the events channel and just the regular Discord invite is also in the description down there. Hit the like button too. And subscribe while you're at it. If you're enjoying the content, you like it. All right, here we go. Last thing we got here is going to be some Maker Faire stuff. And then we'll talk about some of the things. All right, here we go. Oh yeah, before I get going on that though, big shout out. I didn't get to my randos today. Congratulations to Ed on 3K views. Big up to Ed. Congratulations. That is not a small feat for a small channel. And it's always good to get to milestones like that. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. I'm not celebrating until I hit 10K. Listen, chat, we're not celebrating until 10K come. That push for 10K is coming soon. Other randos we got is crystal nib feedback. Before we move on to the maker stuff, since we're still on eInk section, technically still on eInk. If you guys have any crystal nib feedback, any crystal nib people in the chat, let me know how you feel about it. Now, I got some crystal nib feedback from Jay. Jay bought two. Jay bought two crystal nibs. So one of his crystal nibs for the jumbo digital, Norris jumbo digital. I can never know what word comes after jumbo. Norris, whatever. That nib worked great, and I've been saying that for a while too. I've gone on record as saying, let me just go get it. Oh, Sony, can you focus? Oh boy, Sony never misses. If you're doing content on YouTube and you're by yourself, you're a one-man crew, and you just want a camera that's gonna never fail you for the autofocus, and who cares about anything else? Who cares about the colors? Oh, bro, you need Canon colors. Who cares about the colors if you're not in focus? No one's gonna watch it. What else? Sound? Who cares? External microphone. Way to go all day, every day. What else? Color, sound. Oh, bro, you need a Fujifilm camera. You need Fujifilm for that film look. You gotta be making a movie, bro. The Fujifilm. Who cares if it looks like a movie if it's not in focus? Sony. Never loses focus. All right, moving on. What were we talking about before I went on that tangent? Oh yeah, rando stuff. Crystal nib feedback. This right here. I love this one. So this is the one. This is what Jay was talking about. And he loves this one. He had a problem with the other one. We'll talk about that in a second. I absolutely love the crystal nib in this particular stylus. It just feels great. It's unlike anything. It's unreal even. Listen, if they could give me this experience, where is it at? Here we go. If they could give me this experience, if they could give me some to be honest with you, I don't even care about the ergonomics not being here like it is on the Lamy. Because all the Lamy really did was put a triangular shape there for your pen, for your fingers, because that's how it should be. This is just triangular all the way through, so no problem. It's ergonomic. It's got good ergonomics. It reminds me. Now, don't judge me, okay? Don't judge me. I'm falling in love with items that are orange and white. Just try not to judge me too harshly. Now, this thing right here, it's just a blade. It's just a blade. But look at the triangular shape of the handle. You see what I'm saying? That's ergonomics. This company understands how you're going to use this. They're like, hey, they're going to put their fingers on this. Should we make it into a shape that their fingers are going to be in when they're handling it? Probably. You should probably do that. They did it. I've never seen a knife that has the shape that this has for ergonomics. Never. This thing's beautiful. I should probably review this thing. You can take the blade out this way. You don't have to screw it or nothing. Lock that thing in. Oh my God, it's beautiful. This thing is beautiful. Anyway, point I'm trying to make here is that ergonomics matter. Okay, this is the same thing. Triangular shape made for fingers, because that's what you use with these things. Same here, triangular shape, because it's made for your fingers. You're gonna put your fingers on this. Now this piece of landfill trash right here was made for bald eagles who don't have fingers. They just have claws, and they grab it like they would a fish in the water. And so they don't need the triangular shape for ergonomics because they don't have fingers. This is for bald eagles. they claw it, and then they claw it this way, and then they write like that. But that's what this is for. So anyway, ergonomics, they matter. That's what I like about this pen. It's got ergonomics, so it's got one thing going for it already. Okay, it's got one thing going for it already. Now, the second thing it's got going for it is the fact that it's short. I didn't realize how much I liked short. Hold on. Yeah, okay, the Lamy short. That's why I like the Lamy so much. I didn't realize how much I liked short stylus until like I got this. Yeah, I have other short stylus. I got other ones. This isn't that much longer, but I don't care. It's still longer. The point being is that this is a really nice pen. The lines are dark on this as well, so I like that about it. I like the ergonomics on it. You know what I don't like though? I don't like this red eraser. Okay, first of all, it feels like crap. Okay, just I don't know. Yeah, I don't like the way it feels on anything. I mean, it works. It's a stroke erase like it should be, but it's, whatever. And it's a bit distracting because it's big and red on the back of this when I'm writing. It's a bit distracting. I won't hold you. But the writing, though, stop it, okay? The feel of the writing with the crystal nib in here, can we get that? Oh, can we? Oh, Sony, can you focus? Oh, there we go. Oh, my goodness. So Sony's focusing to the nth degree. I didn't even know I could get this close. Oh, Sony, you're impressing me every time. Okay, so I love it. I love it. It's really nice. Let's go to the chat real quick. What pen had the lid that crushed the crystal nib? My Lamy has a 1/4 inch gap. I don't see how it could crush a nib. Yeah, Palm, I thought the same thing, but I wasn't going to argue. My policy is, especially right now with the ceramic nibs, if you want a refund, I will refund you, no questions asked, because this is totally experimental. Like this isn't being done by anyone, so it's going to be some growing pains, and like we'll pivot if a pivot needs to happen. A harder material is being formulated right now. There's different levels to this, and you can get harder materials. It costs more, and there's a cost durability balance to be struck, right? I don't want to try to put something together that's going to cost an arm and a leg, but I also want the durability to be at a point to where everyone's happy with it. You know what I mean? And that's just going to be a balancing act. Now, a good thing about this is that when I'm able to order in higher numbers, the cost goes down. And my plan is to take the cost savings of that and get higher quality material, if that makes sense. So that'll kind of offset the cost of the higher quality material, being able to buy more of them at a time, to kind of keep the cost down, right? And that's the point. But the person who crushed it had a Lamy. So they had this particular Lamy right here. And I guess the nib was sticking out. Like I said, the nib was sticking out too far. But regardless, like I said, my policy right now on these is if you want a refund for the crystal nib, I would gladly give you one, no questions asked. Because this is going into research to do more of this, so we can get something that everyone's happy with. You know what I mean? Not like everyone's confident in it, everyone's happy with it. So that's what we're trying to get to with this. And it's going to take a little bit, not long. Like I really feel like my next batch of these is going to be more and a better experience, just because I'll have. Also, let me just show you guys this right here. It'll be a better experience too, because I'll have these right here. So what these are basically are the, can we get further down here? Oh boy, how far can we go? Oh, whoa. We can get pretty far. I can see land. Okay, all right. See, now that I'm in a position to do this. Oh, can we get you back over here? To make my own sheaths, I can do different colors. So I can do black, white, and the clear here. In making sheaths, now opportunities and possibilities arise, right? So now I don't have to worry about this portion of the process anymore. I can focus more on the actual insert, the nib itself, and getting that perfected. Because this right here, I'm telling you guys, I struggled for months. It's been the better part of a year trying to source these. No one could sell them to me. No one could make them for me. I literally had to go on a journey for myself and figure out a way to get this done and make them myself. Just so I can bring us a product that's like refined as crap. You know what I mean? I didn't want to have to continue to cut the nibs to fit them in. I wanted them to be a pristine, product that everyone feels good about. Again, but yeah, so that's where we're at on that. He said something suspicious, but listen, I don't. At this point, no questions asked. You say you had a problem. That's good enough for me. Refund accepted. Because the point is not to make money here. The point of this right here is to get money to further along the research. It's just whatever money I make from this is going into getting better material. Maybe better material if we deem that it needs to be better, and more so we can bring the cost down. I remember talking to eInk a little while about this. The prices will only go down on the crystal nib, not up for any reason. Even if the durability goes up, I only want the price to go down, so we won't be paying more for these. It'll just be, the prices just be what it is. All right. What else we got here in the chat? If you like that, then you will love the Kaweco. Something sounds Aaron. Yeah, the Kaweco, I want one. I want to try a Kaweco. If for no other reason than to see if I can get a nib put in the Kaweco, see what that would be like. Because I'm not sure what the replacement nibs for the Kaweco is like. Do they use the standard nibs in Kawecos? Does anybody know? Do you know, Aaron? Because I'm not sure what they use in the Kaweco. All right, let's get down to the maker stuff. I showed some of the maker stuff here, and we talked about the nibs here. Let me show these again. So we talked about, oh boy. So we talked about the nibs here, and how long it took me to get to the point to where I could actually make these. But in this process of making these nibs and trying to get settings and everything dialed in properly, I learned a ton. So let's talk about one of those things that I learned through this process. So one of the things I learned through this process is bottom layer exposure. So if you guys if you're 3D printing of any kind, you're gonna deal with bottom layer exposure, or if you're talking about filament printing, you're talking about bottom layer temperature, or the bed temperature for the bottom layers that are being laid down. So those two are kind of the same thing in resin and filament printing. But for resin printing, or for filament printing, you can't damage your machine from messing up the bottom layer settings, right? You can damage the print, but you won't damage your machine. If you get the bottom layer settings wrong for a resin printer, you can and will damage your machine. Now, what is like the bottom layer exposure? Can we draw this? Chat, can we? Oh, you know what? I got a notes thing right here. Let's do that. So let's look at what the bottom layer exposure is exactly. So, and basically what's going to happen is when you buy resin and you're trying to set up the settings on your printer, you're gonna start with some presets, right? You're probably gonna download the presets from the company who makes the resin that you're using. They are gonna have settings that you can download and import into your slicer that will just kind of configure the settings for that particular resin. You will need to go in and do some fine tuning of those settings to fit what you're trying to do. And I'd argue if you do nothing else, and if you don't learn any of those settings other than this one, you might do good to learn this one. It's the bottom exposure setting. Can we see this? I wonder if I can show this here. Oh, maybe we can. Maybe we can. Oh, oh, can we? Oh, nope, we can't. That did us no good, chat. That did us no good. Okay. Oh, there we go. Perfect. All right. So you can see right here, we're gonna go through what those settings. Whoa. Here we go. All right. So this is an example of some it's like resin printing slicer settings. This is Viwoods, and I'm working with the Elegoo Saturn 4 Ultra 16K. But these particular settings right here are the only ones that I would suggest if you don't learn anything else, you learn this. Where are we at? It's up here. There we go. So you're gonna want to learn this bottom exposure time. This particular thing right here could make or break your machine and your print, right? So typically, in my experience, the bottom exposure time is set to way higher than what it needs to be for whatever reason. And you'll know you have a super high exposure time because you'll hear a thud as your plate is trying to separate from your vat, the bottom of your vat. That right there is like you cooking the print onto the plate, and it's trying to pull itself away from the actual vat. And while it's doing that, it's stuck to the vat and it's trying to pull away. And eventually when it snaps away from the vat, you hear a thud when the bottom of your vat snaps back into place. Now, that pulling of the bottom of your vat, because the bottom of your vat is a film, it's an elastic film that will give, but it will give to a point to where it just rips. And if you bake your print too much, you could rip the bottom of your vat. And if you do that, resin is going to spill all on the internals of your 3D printer, and that's another 3D printer you're going to have to buy. At the very least, you damage the film on the bottom of the vat. At the very least, at the most, you damage your machine. Now, the thing here is, this was set to 50, which I thought was extremely high. So I dropped it down to 20. That wasn't high enough, and we'll talk about some like stipulations to when you should adjust this and when you shouldn't. Let's go to my notes here because I got a couple I wanted to bring up. Okay, here we go. Check your presets to make sure they look reasonable. They could be too high and cause damage. So the setting I'm talking about right there is, like I said, the bottom exposure setting. When this setting is too high, you hear a thud. That's you're baking the print onto the bottom of the vat and it's trying to pull away and it's not doing it. Either it doesn't do it at all or it's causing damage to your machine because it's trying to do it. I always lower this down. My rule of thumb is typically 3 to 4 times higher than your exposure time is what this should be. Now, I've seen bottom exposure times high as 115 seconds, which if I had gone with that, it would have torn my machine up. I ended up going with 60 seconds in that instance. That was way more than enough for my bottom exposure to adhere to the actual plate. Now, if I had left it at 115 seconds, like I said, I'm sure I would have damaged my machine. I'm 100% sure I would have damaged it. So these are a couple things that I've learned along the lines of bottom exposure. Start with less time than you need and gradually increase it until you hear a thud and then you know you've gone too far, or your print starts to adhere like you want it to. So that could be the fix for it. Now, there's some stipulations with this that I've learned in my 3D printing experience, and there's 2 stipulations to this particular rule. Prints sticking to the vat usually mean all things being equal, and when I say all things being equal, meaning that you know that your plate is level, you know that your heating is correct, you know that all other things are, like you've made other prints that came out correctly. You tried to do this print with different resin and your prints aren't working, right? Or they're sticking. that's what I mean of all things being equal. If you know nothing else is the problem, and a lot of the times people bring up bed leveling. You want to try to level your bed, but if you know that your bed leveling is correct, then these kind of stipulations come into effect. So prints stick to the vat usually mean, all things being equal, that you need to increase the bottom exposure, despite thuds occurring or not. Now, this is an instance where if you hear a thud when you're 3D printing for your bottom layers, that it's acceptable. Like, this is the one time where thuds are acceptable. And this is because the prints are sticking to your vat, the bottom layer of the vat. And that usually means they aren't sticking to the plate, right? So if they aren't sticking to the plate, you need to get that exposure up high enough till it starts sticking to the plate and not the vat. And that's what I ended up having to do in my case. I heard thuds and I was like, okay, well, let me reduce the exposure time. But in that particular case, the exposure times were keeping the actual model affixed to the bottom of the vat instead of affixed to the model plate. So that could be a problem that you can rectify right there. You hear a thud, but your prints are sticking to the vat. Go ahead and increase that exposure time, because that's gonna make the prints start to harden onto the actual plate, and they will start to pull away from the vat over time. So that's the thing. If the prints are sticking to the vat, increase the exposure time if you hear a thud. If you hear a thud and the prints are sticking to the actual plate, then you want to decrease your exposure time, because that means it's way too high. It's high enough that it's already sticking to the plate. So anything higher than that, it's going to just cause damage to your vat film. So those are the two things I learned. And how many people did I lose? Oh, snap, we gained some people. Okay, cool. Those are the two things I learned with bottom exposure for 3D resin printing. If you hear a thud, it could be two things. Check your vat. If the prints are sticking to the vat itself, the bottom of the vat, the film, then that means you need to increase the exposure. If you hear a thud and the prints are sticking to the actual plate, then you need to decrease the exposure until you don't hear a thud anymore. All right. That's my 2 cents on 3D printing. All right, let's go to the chat. Ooh, wrong one. What do we got here, chat? Oh boy, where can I get to? Oh, there we go. All right, chat. What we got in chat? I use the Statler nib. They use the Statler nib. Who? Something sounds fit. The nib crushing the blah blah blah. All right, Aaron, I didn't get that. They use the Statler nib, but the Statler nib is great. The crystal nib for the Statler jumbo is great. Oh, other thing. Other thing Jay told me about his other thing, because we didn't get to the other nib, because Jay had 2 nibs. Now Jay is the second person that crushed the nib. Now Jay crushed it because he didn't feel like the line was dark enough for the pen he had put it in. So he admittedly says he started pushing down harder on the nib than he would normally do to see if the lines would get darker. And he crushed the nib. He crushed it. Now, if that continues to be the case, then obviously we're going to have to go to a harder substance. But that's 2. That's now 2 out of 10. So 1 is a top crush, and 1 was crushed while writing. So we'll see. We'll see. And like I said, if anybody has any problems with the crystal nib, no questions asked, you will get a refund right away. Aaron says the Kaweco uses the same nib as the Statler. Oh. I like that. I like it. I think the Raycom 1 uses the same nib too. I could be wrong about that, but I think that's the case. I definitely think that's the case. Man, all right, chat. We're nearing the end of the show for today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. Thanks to chat crew for joining. I appreciate you guys. Everyone's going for you guys before we get out of here. Again, if you're liking the content, Monday through Friday, we do the show 10 a.m. to kind of whenever. Typically, we're trying to keep it to an hour. I did good today. I've been doing good lately. But yeah, Monday through Friday, come join us. Like if you like the content, subscribe if you want to see more. What else have we got going? Oh, nibs are going out. To the people who I didn't get your nibs out when you order 2, I think the only people that need them ordered or sent out today was going to be Heather and Sheaths. I'll get you guys' nibs out to you today. Andy is also getting a nib sent out today, along with a couple other people, but those are the only people that contacted me. So I want to assure you guys your nibs were going out. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. Thank you guys for supporting the projects. We got more coming. I'm trying to do more varied stuff as far as the nib goes. But yeah, awesome time. Super exciting, and I can't wait to get the rest of the feedback from everyone who's got them. Also, if you want to leave me some official feedback that I can put up on the site, throw me an email, feedback, rantsaboutTech.com, or rod@rantsaboutTech.com. Or just go to the website, rantsaboutTech.com, leave it there. You can leave it in the comment section of the video. You can leave it in the comment section of this live stream. Go into Discord, link in the description. You can leave your comments and feedback there as well. As always, everyone, thank you for joining me. I appreciate you being here, and have a good rest of your day and good rest of the week if I don't see you guys for the rest of the week. But for the people I'll see tomorrow, see you then. Peace.